All right, man, let's get back into the rundown. So, my man David Banner says, don't cry now. It's your fault. And this is in relation to artists. So, there's a Drink Champs episode where Banner was recently speaking about streaming and how he feels rappers gave away hip-hop to the machine. So, let's watch this clip and discuss.
Do you think that hip-hop still needs a union?
No, because we already gave hip-hop away. I told y'all a long time ago that streaming was the dumbest that we ever did in history. Dog, we finally started getting pennies. And then you gonna let these motherfuckers give us fractions? We had just learned, bro, I had just started getting $9 an album, dog.
All right. Understood BDS.
Bro, I didn't need but one more album and I would have been a multi-millionaire off music, dog. And I produced myself. Bro, we gave it to tech motherfuckers who don't even care about music, who ain't even cool, dog. Shout out to all my tech motherfuckers who give me a lot of money. Y'all smart, but you ain't cool. Bro, we gave hip-hop away, so don't bitch about it. Now ain't no need for a union. Now we gave it away.
Under the guise of independence. Everybody thinks they're independent right now using these tech companies.
Cool. No, I just want to be cool. That's our problem. I want to be paid, dog. I want to be free, dog. I don't care if you think I'm a geek. Said I was crazy, dog. I told them that was the wrong thing to do. The God Box failed because I wouldn't stream my album, dog. It's some stories I can't tell y'all about. When people from distribution companies call me and say, Banner, I need you to help me fight on this streaming. And then they got cut into the equation, and then they didn't call me no more. You know who you are. I'm not gonna put you on Front Street. You still the homie. They cut the right people in. They cut the right artists in, and they sold y'all out. Y'all motherfuckers wanna be cool and make TikTok pictures and shit, and you broke. The reason why your motherfucker always ask me, put out an album for what? I'm grown. I ain't making no because I'm gonna make quality music. I ain't spending a $500,000 like I did on the last God Box album, and y'all giving y'all money to these tech companies. That's stupid. And until we as men, we gangster about dumb shit. But you ain't gangster about your fucking money, about your life, about your culture. I don't play about hip hop. That's why I don't do it no more. Cause I care about this shit too much. Bro, I gave my whole life to this shit and this shit was a lie, dog. Y'all gave this shit up to them white folks and them tech companies. Now you butt ass hurt. And you wonder why artists who don't give a make so much motherfucking money. If you was selling dope on the corner, you was getting $10 a bag, and the motherfucker said, hey, come and use my dope and let me give you 0.2% a penny. Would you do that shit? Fuck no, you'd be like, nigga, I'd kill you. So why you didn't do that for your music? Just because they give one or two dark-skinned black people that y'all happen to like a few dollars, y'all will sell y'all soul for that shit. That's just some hoe shit.
Now there's a lot to unpack here.
He snapped on that too, by the way.
He absolutely snapped with multiple facts, in my opinion.
He really ain't told not one lie.
I don't think it was nan lie in there. Lon, what did you think about this? What's your take on it? Is Banner right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right.
Is there anything I know that's a lot to consume quickly, but is there anything that stood out to you in terms of certain things that he said? Because that was kind of a long,
I think the only thing that I would disagree with Banner on would be the fact that it's just like a rap and there's nothing we can do.
Oh, in terms of it's already been given away, so we might as well just forget about it.
Yeah, a union idea is still a good idea because I think you can still bounce back from the streaming model. And we're starting to, we've been seeing that. We've been seeing artists move away from the streaming model. More people become more aware of this. You know, what he's speaking on is the frustration of being early.
True.
And I get that because I am often the person that is early on things. And so I understand that.
That's true.
Yeah. And, you know, like I get it. Like I feel him 100%, but you know what, people are starting to catch up. And I think that's a cool thing. And it comes through talking about this stuff, us talking about it, creators like us talking about this stuff, artists learning that the streaming model is what it is, you know, and learning how to break away from that system that is established. And so, you know, yeah, I would be frustrated if I was him too.
I think what stood out to me is, one, I agree with his sentiments across the board in terms of what he said. Like you said, he might have disagreed with that a little bit, but overall, he's spot on, right?
Yeah.
So, but what stood out to me most is how potent it is for what he's saying, but how passionate he is about what he's saying.
Yeah.
You don't see, and we laugh and joke about our running thing about caring. You don't see people get that frustrated and pissed off about something that they actually care about as it relates to music or art. That's years of frustration to your point. Yeah. Right. And I think it's
just like the thing that I just brought up before this. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm frustrated at the scope of everything.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at anybody in particular.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just the idea is frustrating overall. Yeah. And that's what stood out to me is this man is dead serious.
No, for sure.
And he talked about how, you have to, as men, stand up. I know you use that as an example, but men have to stand up and stand up for something as it relates to your art. And the dope idea was hilarious when he did the concept about the $10 versus point. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And I just love how passionate he was about it.
I think for a long time too, the reason why people bought into streaming for so long was because so many people were hopeful of the rates being more equitable.
Oh, people, that the artists receive?
Yeah. People were, the artists were like, yeah, these companies have our best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And one thing that nobody really factored in is it's capitalism. And they don't care about anything but the bottom dollar. Like that's just what it is. Facts. And so like more people are just becoming more aware of that. Is it too far gone? I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is too far gone. Maybe David Banner is right, and maybe it is too far gone. And I think it depends on what lens you look at it from. True. But
what you think, Jay?
And nothing but the truth here. And this touches on so many things that we have talked about over the past few years.
Yeah.
One of the things where he said, this is where I disagree with him a little bit, but I think the sentiment is there. I think it's very close to what he meant partially, is when he said, everybody just wants to be cool. They don't worry about being treated fairly or even getting paid. And I think that is something that kind of echoes something that I've said, is like people would rather be famous than good. Yeah. They'd rather be famous than rich, so that's why it's so easy to say, okay, I'll exploit your metrics and I'll put you on TV and you'll be at the award show and you'll have this and you'll go home to an apartment and a used car. We'll let you rent something, or we'll put you in a house, but at the same time you owe us for that house, so you're going to get out here and sell as much ass as possible so you can get that money back, because you owe us in the long. We'll make you look good.
In
the
process.
It's just like when a pimp gives one of his hoes a fur coat and a gold chain and tells her, okay, you need to get out here and sell ass so we can get that money. And I need to see a certain return at the end of the night. I'm going to take back my fur coat and my gold chain. Because that's what you hear about rappers all the time going broke or talking about how they don't have this or don't have that, is because, okay, well, you're not going to make any money actually from your music. Yeah. Okay. Once those splits happen and or the hate pennies that they give you for when your song is actually streamed, okay, you're not going to make any money there. All right. We've set you up in a predatory situation to where you might be in a 360. So even if you do sell an $80 t-shirt, you might get $5 or $6 from that. And then even if you find yourself in a place where you can sell hard tickets for people to come see you, we get a part of that. And we may have advanced you money based on that, but we're going to take all the parking money from those people who bought those hard tickets. We got the partnership with Liquid Death. So when somebody pays $12 for a can of water, you see none of that, and it doesn't go into you paying us back any money. So now all we've done, honestly, with all this tech shit, is we've created new ways for artists to be broke.
Yeah, to be exploited. Yep. In the sake of the consumer and ease of access.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it's sold. That's how it's sold.
Yeah, facts.
No, I was just going to say it's crazy because think about it. Not a lot of us have seen the rise, the plateau, and the demise of the music business all in the same life as we have. There's a lot of people that have no idea. Like even if we center focus on hip hop. Okay, there was a point in time where hip hop wasn't really making a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? It made it look like they were making a lot of money, but that didn't happen.
Right.
And artists have touched on that. Then it got to the point where they actually started to make a lot of money, like in real time, like for real. And then right when that happened, on the tail end or not far away from that, started the streaming situation with who was that? Napster.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Napster.
the pirating.
The pirating.
Yeah.
Which was technology based. So to his point with people don't care less about your music and your interests as far as that's concerned. They care about getting a new technology off and eating good from Silicon Valley. They care less about what your album sounds like. At this point, the music focused only on how much can we put out for this consumer, which then turned into the streaming situation that he's talking about. His example about taking dope from somebody and giving your dope to them, and they giving you pennies, micro pennies on a dollar after you done handed your work over, is the best analogy that I've probably ever heard when it comes to music.
The thing is it's not just music.
No, it's
the
not.
The same thing could be said to us.
Yeah.
We put all of our content on a platform that gives us a fraction of the percentage back only if we meet certain thresholds.
Only. Yeah. It's like you're being penalized. Okay, like we're handing over all of our shit.
Right.
And they're like, okay, we're going to eat off of this regardless. We're going to pay you once it gets to this certain threshold. But you have to get there first. It's kind of like a bad bar deal. You know what I'm saying? Where you didn't set the price too high.
Yeah.
So you never get paid off the bar. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with the music shit and the streaming shit, all of that.
Yeah.
It kind of goes hand in hand. If you set it, and it's like we're not even setting these. Even with a bar deal, that's something you negotiated at least.
Yeah.
With this situation, you're not negotiating shit. It's like, this is what it is. You have to get here. If you don't get here, we're going to continue to eat, work harder, and maybe you'll get a piece of this. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I can't even add much more to what he said because it's like he hit everything that could be said about the state of this music business. And for him to even talk about his experience with dropping the God box. So I remember we talked about that. Yeah. And how that was a big deal. He sold a whole package.
The packaging was amazing.
Amazing
for that project.
He spent $500,000 on that situation and it wasn't successful. Yeah. And this is coming from somebody that came up in the game and was at a point where rappers were eating when he came out. You know what I'm saying? He said he sold his first, he finally got to getting $9 an album. And it's like the carpet got yanked from a bun ring. But
again, he was early.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't the earliest adopter of it, but he was one of the early adopters of it. And that's what happens sometimes. Like he's going up against a machine. You know, like even our early episodes, we were like, this is not the smart choice right now. Like without infrastructure set up to encapsulate and grab those people, like you have to build those super fans and be able to grab them and be able to sell directly to them. You know, like we can't just take all of our stuff off of YouTube and be like, yo, come listen to us on Patreon. No, not even Patreon, because that's owned by somebody. We can't say from our own website. You know, like we can't do that. Or Patreon, but would be the thing. But we can't even do that because we're not going to get people. We're not going to, you know, it's the whole exposure thing as well. So it's like you have to play that game a little bit.
But the only way to really make it is to partner with these people that are stealing from you.
Yeah. That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Because like when we talk about even the streamers or podcasts that are really getting it, the platform is paying them. They got a deal on top of whatever streams. You know what I'm saying?
The Twitch streamers used to. They've kind of deaded all that stuff in a long time.
But yeah, I mean, it's been going on, and it's crazy because I actually was listening to Chuck D and Curtis Blount were on the Breakfast Club.
Great interview.
And they were actually discussing the union, Hip Hop Alliance. The situation that stuck out to me is Chuck D said that hip hop came into the game as a covert, like, you know what I'm saying? We were covert as far as, implanting and being part of the culture, and even thank Spike Lee for being the person that played Fight the Power over and over and over in that movie to make that more successful than it might have been without that situation. But it's so crazy that it went from covert to corporate. It's like none of that rah strong energy that we felt when we first heard and listened and knew about hip hop. I mean, it's still there, but it's not there to benefit the artist. It's like it's totally gone. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, you know,
Good point,
as discouraged as I don't want to say he sounds discouraged, but you know, in a way, it's like, yo, I got burnt by this whole situation, you know. But on the other side, we see somebody like Killer Mike be able to do what he wants to do. Now, mind you, his records are on a streaming service, but I know a lot of he cultivated those super fans that went out and bought the vinyl too.
Facts.
And he's able to sell hard tickets on his, you know, a lot of times on his own. Now, mind you, he has also the fame that comes from Run the Jewels. I'm not going to discount that either. He has a long track record of putting out the records he wants to put out without thinking about, oh, is this going to sound good in a Doritos commercial? And, you know, will I be able to do this, that, and the third? You know, there's basically no selling of ass when we talk about, you know, Run the Jewels or
at all
Killer Mike as a solo artist. But the thing is, like, when you tell someone, hey, if you do this yourself, you say you have this incredible piece of work and you want to sell 10,000 CDs and that'll net you like $100,000. And he was like, okay, well, I want my stuff to be on streaming so everybody can hear it. And it's going to take 4 billion people for you to make that same $100,000 to listen to your records. Like I said, I'm making that number up. It's not that far off. And so when you're talking, but someone would say, I want everyone to hear it. I'd rather be famous than get that $10,000 from my super fans or people I can sell to at my shows. It's a weird choice that people have made, but now it is the norm.
Yeah, I think people have been forced to make it too. I think that's the other piece of this that, like, I understand David, and I agree with what he's saying, his frustration, but like, it's not like there's many other choices for many people. It's like you have to play the game. Like, you have to, because if you don't, like, not everybody is a David Banner who could be a multimillionaire if from selling records. You know, like, he was from that era. He's been around for a very long time.
He was homeless
when he started out.
Yeah.
But he's cultivated and built something very special. Yes. And he's still the top 0.0% of everything. You know what I mean? So
he still exists in what, you know, when they talk about in the 1%, he still exists in the 1% of artists who can actually eat from their art, you know, whether it be the scores he's done, you know, for other movies. Like, David Banner's company worked on the remake to Footloose. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He is very diversified.
Oh, he getting to that. He
to my point. So don't get straight here, though. Yeah. But it is like he's putting a lot of onus on the artists. Yep. And less on the systems that exist. And I understand that also at the same time, like, people are a part of the system that uphold and push them, but it's a highly exploitative thing that people are a part of too. So I feel like, I mean, I get where he's saying, but I still put a little bit more onus. But then again, who's going to take responsibility? They're not going to take responsibility for it. So it needs to be the people that are going to have to do, which is what he's saying. But like, that's not going to happen. So
do we start to put the onus on the consumer who is just, now they've been conditioned to think that art, but specifically music in this case, is just not something you spend money on. Unless you're buying tickets to Cowboy Carter.
It's a wrap now, man. As far as a consumer is concerned, they could care less as long as they're being entertained. Yeah. So like the artist has to figure out another way to actually make their money. And again, that you just brought up Cowboy Carter. The tours is where they make the money, but the product has to be good enough for you to tour to actually make that money. Because you hear about a lot of concerts or artists wanting to go on tour and end up having to cancel the tour because the tickets aren't selling.
Yep.
So they don't have any money or anything on the back end or any incentive to keep going on, because they're like, we have to spend this much money to go on tour to all these cities, and we're not seeing an ROI based off these tickets that are being sold. So we're just going to have to scrap that idea and refund everybody. Or they got to scale it back down. But I mean, that's the only guaranteed way that they're actually going to eat off of their product. Whereas back in the day, they were getting money off the record sales and going on tour and selling merch.
But I guess what I would say to that is that works for like a Beyonce, you know, but like the thing is like talent doesn't matter. So it's not about having a good product. It's about being able to sell your product in the avenues where people consume. And if the way that people consume are these platforms, you're kind of forced into being a part of these platforms. And it's like this wicked cycle where unless you are one of these anomalies like a Jay-Z or a Beyonce or a Killer Mike or somebody who has such a large fan base that they can bypass it, or somebody who has spent a lot of time building that grassroots thing, it's completely unavoidable.
Yeah.
Like you can't be like Mick Jenkins has talked about, you know, he recently went direct to consumer.
Yeah.
He's a big independent artist, but he's not a big artist.
No.
You know, so like he's making a very big I don't want to say he's betting on himself a lot.
Risk?
No, it's not a risk.
Not a risk.
I think he's betting on himself.
Okay.
Like he's making a very big bet on himself, which I think is smart for him to do because I think he has that, you know, but you know, it's really going against the grain, and there's no real solution for people except for like, I think the artists have to just start removing themselves from these platforms or demand something that is equitable. Because the consumers are not going to change. To your point, Terry, the consumers are not going to change. You know, like even you were mentioning earlier in the show, Jay, about how, you know, like I would have liked to listen to Doechie's record, but it's not on any streaming platform.
Mm-hmm.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what. But that's what I mean, though. Like it's probably on her YouTube. She probably collects monetization off her YouTube, as opposed to. And granted, it's still a YouTube, but you know, but like it's different when you have your music distributed through a distribution platform to YouTube and YouTube Music, as opposed to you uploading it and you collecting monetization. There's a little bit of a difference there,
right?
Not a ton, but there is. But you at least have a little bit of control there. But
what happens? What I was saying, as far as what happens too, they can still eat off of touring and doing their shows, and it's obviously in a much smaller arena, and the tickets cost a lot less. But what it does, it turns them into, they have to be an artist 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. They can't duck off like a Kendrick can be like, I'm not doing an album for another 5 to 10 years. You can be Andre 3000 decide I'm going to play flutes and pianos and not do anything, because he's already hit that threshold to where his artistry pays for itself regardless of what he does. Whereas a lot of the artists that we may be fans of are very good artists, but they haven't hit that threshold to where their artistry is gaining the popular vote. And I think that's why people aspire to be whatever type music they do and add the pop to it in order to gain that freedom. Because otherwise you're constantly having to feed the machine and stay out on the road. These people got families and all kind of stuff. They can't just go out on tour for the summer and be done. They got to tour all year.
Yeah, but I think another piece to this too is like, and this is in reference to, I'd be curious to talk to some people that tour heavily, like a Mega Ran or somebody, you know,
or Talib Kweli,
or you know, Open Mike Eagle, who just did some shows and
maybe
stuff.
Talib Kweli.
But I was just referring people that I know. I'd be interested in having a conversation with them about this, like
Odyssey.
Yeah.
Odyssey.
Like, is the money the same now as it was 10 years ago and 20 years ago? Because Rapper Pooh recently came out and said that because of the Live Nation stuff and the way that these venues are operating, the money's not the same in that either. So it's like, there are a lot of hands in artists' pockets right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I brought up the thing about, you know, they're giving people loans against their ticket sales. And, you know, even though they take all the money for parking in $12 cans of water.
Yeah, man. I saw that in an interview
crazy
somewhere.
out there, bro.
It's very crazy. It makes me think about the conversation we had, which was very similar to this, where I brought up at one point in time, there's just going to be a company where artists go to, and you give them all of your shit, and they pay you either a salary or
percentage,
a percentage or a monthly, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You just work in this place. You're giving us all the music, and we're cutting you. You know what I'm saying? Your pay. This is all ours. You work for us. We're gonna release it, but here's your stipend, and we keep the rest of it. It's about to be Hunger Games out here.
Yeah,
scary, bro.
Yeah,
scary hours.